Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out another brand new Jurassic World Dominion figure, but this time it is not from Mattel. It's not a common occurrence to have something that's Jurassic World Dominion related with not Mattel attached to it. So this time we've got a Takara Tomy release, and in fact I believe I have all of the brand new Takara Tomy Jurassic World Dominion releases here to take a look at over the next probably week or two here on the channel, and we're going to begin with the Dimetrodon, and this is one that I was really excited about because specifically I love Dimetrodon. Overall, it's definitely an incredibly cool species. Ever since I was a child, I've just always been so drawn to it. So the fact that it was in Jurassic World Dominion was incredibly exciting to me, and probably the part of the film I was most looking forward to, and also just generally the design of the Jurassic World Dominion version of the Dimetrodon is incredibly nice as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm really quite in love with that design, so overall, I was really excited to get this version of the Dimetrodon, and I'm having a tough time deciding if this is my favorite version or if the Captives version from Toy Monster International is my favorite. I really can't decide, so we're going to have to bring them both in here in a little while and take a look at them. But as far as this Takara Tomy version goes, it looks great if you ask me, so let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Dimetrodon, you can see that it does have a really nice appearance to the head sculpt. It definitely looks like the Dimetrodon does in Jurassic World Dominion, if you ask me. And I feel like, honestly, the majority of these newer Takara Tomy figures all have pretty screen-accurate sculpts for the most part. So definitely nice to see that aspect here on the Dimetrodon. You can also see some beautiful-looking skin texture here in the face of our figure. And you can also see the nostrils sculpted right there. Some nice coloration to it. And we also have a little bit of a darker, really subtle darker tone there near the eyes, so there's some nice color variation. You do also have an articulated jaw. That jaw can actually open really quite wide, and you can see the inside of the mouth has a very nice pinkish tone in there. You can see it's also painted there on the inside of the mouth on the top, which also looks nice. You've got the teeth painted and sculpted really quite nicely. The teeth are very small, so it's honestly quite impressive to see how nicely sculpted and painted they are. They are all kind of bunched together. I think they look a little better on the opposing side rather than they do on this side. Definitely look better here than they do over here as far as the upper jaw goes, but it still looks pretty decent, and the jaw also works really nicely. As you start to move back here into the neck of the Dimetrodon, you kind of pick up those osteoderms, that sort of almost like an armored type of a look you see on the Dimetrodon in Dominion, and you can see they are quite abundant here running along the top of the animal here right under the sail. As we lead up here toward the sail, you can see that we also, actually as you lead up toward the back, you can see we get this nice darker green, and then as we lead up into the sail of our Dimetrodon, that darker green does continue. It does run up into the sail. It also transitions very briefly to kind of like a lighter tone before transitioning back to a red. As you lead toward the top of the sail, and the transitions there between those colors is incredibly smooth, really nice looking, and the fine detail of the sail as well actually looks really good. Honestly, I feel like one of the things that the Takara Tomy figures are missing that would really improve them would be like a darker wash. If they just had a dark wash on them, I feel like it would amp up their paint jobs and, of course, the overall realism of the figures quite drastically. As you lead down here into the front limbs of our Dimetrodon, you can see they are spread out here apart from the body, very lizard-like, just like you see it portrayed in Jurassic World Dominion. You can also see some nice creasing here as the body leads out. You've got the elbow very nicely sculpted out, nice creasing there in the inside of the elbow as well. Pretty nice looking foot sculpt, nicely painted nails. We have some dark gray nails painted for our Dimetrodon. Leading back here into the stomach region, you can see more really nice looking skin texture. Again, a dark wash really would have highlighted the detail quite beautifully, I think, on this Dimetrodon. You can also see some kind of like skin wrinkles and stuff throughout. Nice muscle definition here in the thigh, as well as more really nice skin texture. You've got the kneecap present right there, and another really nice foot sculpt here for the rear leg. Nicely sculpted out toes, and then again, painted nails with a dark gray. And then as you lead up, you see a little bit more skin wrinkling right there. Again, more nice skin texture, as well as more of those kind of osteoderms running the length of the Dimetrodon. Really nice smooth transition from the darker green down here into the lighter tone of color for the body. As you lead out into the tail, we get to the area that some people aren't really a big fan of on Takara Tomy figures, and that would be the ball joints to articulate the tail. You can see we can go up and down very nicely. And you could, of course, also swivel these to kind of move them whatever way you want, because they can completely swivel on top of everything. Some people don't really like that. I don't mind it. I've been a fan of the Takara Tomy line for way too long to see that bother me at this point, so as time goes on, that almost becomes part of their charm. Of course, I would prefer it without them, but it's really not a big deal. But you can also see the tail curving and everything here, as well as it leads out to a very nice tip of the tail. The skin texture and everything here on the underside as well looks great. Specifically, I really quite like the throat region of the Dimetrodon. You're really not going to see too much difference on the opposing side because the animal isn't really doing too much as far as movement. Like, it's pretty much sitting straight forward for the most part. The legs are kind of in the same position on both sides. It looks like it's just kind of sitting there, maybe giving off some sort of a display, maybe threatening Alan Grant like we see in Jurassic World Dominion. But again, you wouldn't see too much difference as far as the sculpt or paint or anything over here. We do have very nicely painted eyes, which is something that I failed to mention prior if my camera would focus on it. Even though the eyes are very small, we actually have blue eyes with a black pupil, which I feel like is really impressive. You can see a little bit of sloppiness to the painting of the teeth actually now that we're closer, but the eyes actually look really nice as far as the paintwork goes. But again, as you lead out, the only real difference you're going to see over here would be the, difference in the tail as it's curling and curving here. So not really too much going on here on this side any different than what we had seen on the other side, but definitely a beautiful looking Jurassic World Dominion style Dimetrodon. As far as a size goes, it's pretty small. They usually are when it comes to the Takara Tomy figures, but for a length you're looking at about the, I would say, approaching 4 3/4 inch range, in between 4.5 and 4 3/4, or right around 12 centimeters. 12 centimeters is almost completely accurate as far as the size goes. And then as far as a height, just shy of 2 1/4 inches, or around 5.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Takara Tomy Dimetrodon, and you can definitely see that it has a very small size, especially in comparison to these figures right here. The size is quite drastically different, but being a Takara Tomy figure, you really do quite expect a smaller size. But for another comparison, there is our Mattel Jurassic World Dominion Dimetrodon next to our Takara Tomy version. And I would absolutely say the Takara Tomy version is more screen accurate than the Mattel one. The Mattel one definitely looks nice. It's a very cool figure. And this is the best version, in my opinion, out of the Mattel Dimetrodon, which would be the one from the Alan Grant set. But you can definitely see, just looking at the Takara Tomy one, that I feel like the screen accuracy is more on point with that version. But for another comparison, there is the Toy Monster International Captives version next to our Takara Tomy version, and it's really a tough call. I think as far as screen accuracy goes, again, Takara Tomy might win this round, but I feel like the paint job is just a little bit more realistic and lifelike looking on the Toy Monster International Captives version. But that being said, I feel like the coloration itself, as far as like the tones and design goes, of the Takara Tomy version is a little bit closer to screen accurate. So I really can't decide as far as these ones go. It's just too close to call for me. But both are absolutely beautiful versions of the Jurassic World Dominion Dimetrodon. So this brand new Takara Tomy Jurassic World Dominion Dimetrodon is definitely another beautiful figure. I am a huge fan of the Takara Tomy line. I have been for years. I collect pretty much all of their prehistoric related figures, not just Jurassic World figures, but pretty much all of the different prehistoric releases that they have out. But I was really excited about the Jurassic World Dominion line because I was really excited about the film in general, but I also really love a lot of the designs from Dominion. I feel like many of the different species that they had created in that film looked really cool, and a lot of the Takara Tomy figures looked like some of the best out of the different species from the film, and specifically this Dimetrodon, I would say, probably is at the top of the line as far as that goes, and having it here now in hand, I am so psyched about this one. It is gorgeous as far as the sculpt goes, and also really quite nice as far as the paint goes. Of course, when it comes to a Takara Tomy figure, you never really get all that much as far as paintwork goes. You don't get much as far as realism when it comes to their paintwork. Again, I feel like it could all be amplified quite drastically if it had just included some sort of like a darker wash, or like even like a dark gray wash, or even a dark green wash. It really doesn't matter as long as it had some sort of a wash to kind of fill in some of the cracks and darken them and just bring the paint job to life a little more. But outside of that aspect, I really feel like what we have been given here is quite nice. The coloration, as far as I can recall, pretty nicely replicates the Jurassic World Dominion version of the Dimetrodon. The sculpt is really beautiful, if you ask me. I feel like it's definitely screen accurate, and overall is probably the best version sculpt-wise of the Dominion Dimetrodon I've seen so far. It also has some really nice fine detail to it, and being a Takara Tomy figure, has a little bit of articulation as you have an articulated jaw, and then 2 areas of articulation in the tail, which unfortunately do have that ball joint type look that not everyone's a big fan of, but again, like I stated earlier, I don't really mind it. It's something I've become accustomed to, and now is kind of part of Takara Tomy's charm. But as a whole, this is definitely a really nice looking Dimetrodon, and I honestly would say it's probably the best version of a Dimetrodon from Dominion out currently. So if you are interested in picking this up, unfortunately, it's a little bit of a task to get a hold of. This was purchased by my good friend Rod's Random Work, who was able to hook me up with this and get it from Amazon Japan and send it to me. I know it is 100% possible for people here in the United States to order from Amazon Japan. I have tried it in the past. I was really confused as to how to do it, so now I usually just reach out to someone that can help me out with that. But if you are familiar with Amazon Japan and you can figure out how to order from there, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on there if you are familiar with the way to do it. Other than that, I would say maybe wait, and it should show up on eBay or AliExpress fairly soon. I will attempt to find a link somewhere else that wouldn't be so complicated or quite as complicated as Amazon Japan, but I can't guarantee anything. Regardless, it is still a really cool Dimetrodon, definitely worth picking up. So make sure you do that if you can, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.